Welcome to No Question About That. We are talking about United 0, City 0 with Daniel. How's it going?
I'm all right. I've been ill the last few days.
Same here.
I mean, not as ill as that game of football, but I learned something that I feel obliged to share with the world.
Please do.
So I don't know what I had, like a bug, a virus. I just woke up one day and weirdly, actually, I felt like emotionally, like what's going on with me? I don't feel right. And I realized actually it was because I felt like shit and I was ill. So it's general, just like feeling white and nauseous without actually gipping. And then it's then towards sort of about Friday, and I started feeling bad on Wednesday. I get a hyperactive intestine, should we call it? And this carries on for a day or so. And then I'm in bed on Saturday morning and a cleaner comes, and she grew up in the Romanian countryside. And my wife tells her what's going on. And she says, right, do this. Get a shot of rice, drink the shot of dry rice, and wash it down with mint tea. So I did. And it worked.
Right. Did you control for other things?
No, I mean, it's not I guess. I haven't, like, there's no experimental evidence. I would say it's like...
It's not a scientific method, then.
Right, but at the same time, it's something that she was raised to do. And so her experience of life and the experience of life of the people who told her to do it, like her mother, whatever, like they think it works. She thought it worked. She did it to me. And from visiting the toilet many times an hour, which was something I'd been doing over the course of some previous hours, I've been up in the night as well. So it was well ensconced into my routine by this point. And boom, it went. It stopped it. That was it. I did not go again that day.
All right. Could have helped Fergie when he was doing 90 down the hard shoulder.
I tried that. I gave that as an excuse once when I represented myself on a speeding charge. Incurred watching United. No. They praised my advocacy and then fucked me over anyway.
Yeah, it's really only, there's only certain types of courts you're allowed to represent yourself without the judge thinking you're a fool.
But why? But I didn't totally get why, if Fergie said it and got away with it, why that is not some kind of precedent that would enable me to get away with it. But
yeah, I don't know. Because he was Ferg and he charmed the judge or something like that. No amount of charm could bring some entertainment to that game of football today. It was so weird, Dan. It was like watching a pre-season game. There was absolutely zero intensity, which I guess, I mean, City have got something to play for, right? They're playing for 5th or 4th and Champions League qualification. Like, all things being equal, assuming they're not relegated down to the Vanarama by the Premier League Commission the next couple of weeks. They're playing for something. United really only playing for Lyon on Thursday, right? So you could kind of understand United, few injuries and all that, but just lack of intensity was incredible for a derby.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's two shit teams, really, isn't it? Actually, I feel quite pleased to be able to say that. Like that's an improvement. But City aren't an intense team anymore.
No,
like. Bernardo Silva's, I think, quite a good encapsulation of that, because he's obviously a brilliant player. One of those players, I've probably said this before, that I saw him play for Monaco into our 2017 team, and then you see him linked to United, and there's a bit of my head that's going, yeah, I'd love that guy. And there's another bit of my head going, Mourinho will absolutely annihilate that guy. And something clearly disgusting. So he's someone who can be physical in a team that's full of bigger athletes than him or whatever, but he's played a lot of games, someone who at the same time isn't exactly a natural athlete in the way that some other players are. And they've lost a step physically. And at the same time, getting it back. And when you're losing players as well, signing better players or players who are as good to replace them. Like even Mahrez, they haven't replaced. We said this last week. And like Savinho hasn't quite worked out. Doku hasn't quite worked out. And they keep cycling through them. And Phil Foden's going through that stage. You saw Giggs sort of went through as well in the middle of his career, when it's sort of, why am I exactly? What sort of player am I? I've had a few injuries as well, and I spent how much money in January? Marmoush
200
is a
million.
good player. Yeah,
Yeah,
Marmoush
Marmoush is a good player. Yeah, but they did.
But is
What
he
they
a
didn't do
definitive
is spend-
player?
Hard to say yet. I mean, it's really hard to say. He's had what, 3 months in England, so we'll see. He had a good record in Germany scoring. We're not sure what he is. He's really a replacement for Alvarez. I think he likes to drop into those half spaces and channels. But it's a physical thing, isn't it? It's De Bruyne, Gundogan, both aging. No Rodri. They just don't have the physical beast all over the pitch anymore. And it was kind of really noticeable from there.
Yeah, I was thinking.
I mean,
I was thinking about De Bruyne because it's really in the context of he's finished as a top level player, right?
yeah,
In the same way that Gerrard was finished as a top level player about that age, and so was Lampard. And who wasn't finished as a top level player? I'm not trying to reignite this tediousness, but Paul Scholes was 38, was still bossing games in the Premier League. And you could say that maybe it's more physical now. Definitely hadn't changed that much when Gerrard and Lampard weren't able to do that. But I think that it's perfectly plausible to say that, because I was trying to think, where would I rank De Bruyne? I think it's perfectly plausible to say that De Bruyne is a better player than Scholes. Like, he's got 6 league titles. It's not as many as Scholes, but it's a good number. And in terms of the first thing you might look for, that's medals. But when I heard Carragher say a while ago on Sky that De Bruyne was the best passer in the history of the Premier League or something, that's not the case, because Scholes had the long range of passing. De Bruyne maybe had the crosses, but the little passes to play out your own box, to play when Scholes moves back and plays deeper. De Bruyne can't do that, and that's why De Bruyne's finished now. De Bruyne's finished now because the thing that he had over Scholes, he has almost over every midfield player that I've seen, creative midfield player that I've seen in the Premier League, is the physicality.
Right, and what they've done to change it is actually moving further forward, right? So he doesn't have to cover as much ground anymore, because he can't. But he wasn't impactful today at all, and he hasn't had much impact all season. He spent most of it in the treatment room, obviously, but yeah, I mean, it's clearly City's problem.
It's not just the injuries. It's the he's a power player, De Bruyne, in a possession team. That his ability to drive with the ball, he had that kind of deceptive pace that Gerrard had as well, but like, sort of the longer the distance, the faster he gets. And now that's gone. There's nothing you can do. I remember hearing an interview with Gerrard once, and he's like, and when I get to whatever age, I'll play the Scholes role. Oh, will you?
Yeah, he was never intelligent enough to do it.
You'll be finished and going to America. That's what you'll be doing. And again, I think, I hate to say this, but obviously I hate De Bruyne because he plays for City, but I feel like, and it's also, you can then hate them all on that moral level of what it means to work for them as well. And at the same time, I'd say he doesn't seem like a totally hateful individual. Those two things that make him hate for the side. Like, I don't.
Yeah. Let's not jerk him off just yet. But I mean, he has been a great player. He was not today. Interesting. Talking of the moral aspect. Afterwards, Pep went on this rant about United fans serenaded Phil Foden's mum as Foden left the pitch, and
before that as well.
Yeah.
Before that as well,
and before that, and Guardiola said fans lacked integrity, and like, coming from this man, come on, like, he's spent, how long's he been at City now? 8 years, a decade? I can't remember now. It's too fucking long. Whatever. And all throughout this time, wearing his little yellow ribbon, pretending he's with, Catalan independence, and, he's have this high moral standing. He's on a different plane to everybody else, and criticising the integrity of United fans. And here he is, like, taking state coin and, like, pretending that's never the case, right? Because everyone at City has to do this. I was like, fuck off, man. You can never talk about integrity. You talk about many things, Guardiola, not that.
I mean, I think because he thinks that his personal relationship to football is the highest integrity that there is. Like, it's a moral standard.
Yeah,
basically, and it's sort of, and it trumps everything else, and it enables him to justify, or not even justify the contortions. He doesn't even really bother making them. So, yeah, I mean, so that's what I mean when I talk about De Bruyne. I'm not saying I don't think he's a prick, because obviously he plays for City. I'm saying what I feel about De Bruyne versus what I feel about someone like Guardiola. They're very different things.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, on the actual game, United set up with a 3-4-3. I'd say
Euro was back on the left.
5-4-1. Yeah. And like the defensive block looked good, right? Maguire, Yoro, Mazraoui, perfectly comfortable. There was a couple of long range shots that Onana had to save, but not an awful lot of damage. I think City created less than 1 XG in this game. At least when I last looked at it, it was something like that. So
Yoro's passing and carrying the ball as he's getting more confident.
Ferdinand.
We're kind of watching him grow in confidence and show a fuller range of what he can do. I wonder if they're finding it works better from the left, in a sense, because it sort of opens out the pitch for the passes inside. But I'm sure in time he'll be able to do both.
I mean, he's not too ambitious with the passing, but he does the right things and he moves it quickly and he carries the ball as well.
He clips them at kind of like a good pace, like they sort of fit. They fizz, and that's what a good pass should do. Like a Roy Keane pass was always fizz, because it makes it harder for the opposition. And actually, if it is fizzed and you sort of take it properly, it gets you away. I mean, he's not bossing games from that position yet, but I thought that was really encouraging. Whereas in front of him, like, Dorgu's trying to get on my tits, I'm afraid.
I wouldn't get on him too. It was a bad game today from Dorgu. He did a lot of things.
It was. It's not totally. Obviously, it's not his fault. He's just put into a new division and a crap team. Doesn't know how to play. It's like, right, you've got to come in and make a proper difference immediately. Get on with it. And I like quite a bit of what he does. It's not like the stuff that he's not doing right. It's that when you're sort of projecting how you see his development and how it looks like the team's going to have to play. Obviously, when we get better players in other positions, we'll be better and we'll be more dangerous. But the things that it feels like this system needs from a wing back, he's not intimating someone who's going to be able to give requisite goals and assists at this point, but we'll see.
He is a bit loose with his passing. We knew that. He is erratic with the crossing when Garnacho gives it to him, which is infrequently. But the physical side of his game is good, and United needed that. So it's an upgrade just from that point of view, because there's no one else who can do it, right? I mean, playing Mazraoui and Dalot is so restrictive.
He's promising in some aspects. Are his feet good enough? Like, I quite like I think his movement's quite good and subtle. I think he's got good intelligence in that aspect. I don't know if like technically, yeah. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah. Well, we're never going to get Luke Shaw back. Physically, he's just not going to be able to do it. I don't believe that they'll even try and play him at left wing back.
It'd be a centre back.
He's not lucky.
Surely.
Yeah, he's going to be left-sided centre back and the auxiliary one for the final year of his contract. And Patrick Dorgu doesn't look like he has the same kind of ceiling, because I think when Shaw was 18, there was just like a load of the quality of his general all-round play was higher than Dorgu's is now, and Dorgu's 20 or whatever. But we'll see on that one. He's got time.
I'm not writing him off. It's just there's like that imprecision in his work that reminds me of Fred. And
absolutely.
I find it. I'm not over Fred yet. Like having to watch him constantly. Like it's the slapdashness. It's the lack of care and attention to something that you're meant to be doing. You're meant to be concentrating on.
Talking in imprecision, Casemiro and Ugarte in midfield, they can both be quite imprecise. Normally, Casemiro's imprecisions with his tackling, which gets him yellow and red cards. Made 11 tackles today. That's the most of a United player for like 20 years. and he didn't
What
get
happened
booked.
together? Every single one of them over the last.
Every single one. Yeah, probably about right. Yeah. I mean, I have to say, we talked about it previously. If Casemiro is going to play in a 2, he's got to play alongside Ugarte because Ugarte will do the defensive covering. And I didn't hate it. I mean, I thought they did their job pretty well today.
I sort of did. I sort of hated it because, not because I think Gary Neville said they were like cuddling Casemiro because, and he said Casemiro could play because everyone was so close together. I didn't really mind that in a sense. I think that is one of the problems that United have had over the last bit of time. Is the players always look like they're too far apart. So the other team have got more players.
Yeah.
But the thing with Ugarte is I feel when people think about people who think Ugarte is acceptable is a confusion of not being useless because we're used to so much uselessness with being good enough. And Ugarte doesn't give you anywhere near enough. The reason I didn't like that two together was because I felt like it was a bit of a negative move. I thought City would be there for the taking. So I would have played Bruno. I would have played Bruno and another attacker. To play
I mean, what he did
attackers, three attackers and 2 wing backs who are basically fullbacks. It's not going to be that easy to score. And you are basically saying to Bruno, you have to make this happen. And he did his best. He had a really good game. But I'm afraid playing with knobheads, what can you do?
Amorim has gone cautious today. I mean, they did play with 5 at the back quite a lot today, and the 2 in front protecting, and the goal was to not lose and see if we could create chances. We did create chances, just the usual kind of faffing around up front. Didn't really, last 20 minutes, I thought they didn't really create anything when Xerxes and Mount came on and Bruno went back into a deeper role. Ugarte went off, not Casemiro, and there was just no runners beyond the ball at all. At that point, everyone wants the ball into feet. It's kind of, I don't think that's, I mean, although they're archetypal right players for that system, like, there's nothing dynamic there. I mean, at least Garnacho, for all his flaws and like the particular bugbear is he ignores absolutely everybody and shoots all the fucking time without doing anything with it. He's at least running and attacking and trying to take players on.
Well, I think that's why he has to basically play in these games, because you don't have anyone else to pace without Ahmad.
Because otherwise it's so one-dimensional.
And so I thought that I think the thing with him also is he doesn't really beat men or create very much. So he can score. I mean, he has scored goals. Obviously, he's been on a terrible run, but previously we've seen him score some nice goals, whatever. And he's good on the counter, and he's a good substitute. But he's now had enough games so that he should have developed, and it doesn't feel. It's been in terrible circumstances. So I'm not saying it's always Vol, but it felt like we were investing in playing him previously because we wanted him to be better by now than he in fact is.
Yeah.
Because he'd shown some talent, basically. It wasn't like it was that you'd seen enough to think actually he could get good. And the thing is it's not probably a lack of application on his part. Like I imagine the way he plays, you would imagine he probably trains properly. Like he might have a bit of an attitude, I don't know, because that was why the manager took against him in the first place. But I don't think it's a lack of application. My guess would be more bit of ego, probably.
Amorim said after Forest, he said he has to improve his finishing, his passing, his running, and his defending. It was like a kind of voice thing. Yeah. And then he said he kind of the appendment to that was, and he is improving. And I think you're right when you say he's probably a good trainer. I think that is the thing that's keeping him in the side. He's doing the things Amorim is asking him to do. Right now, it's not all on the pitch at the moment, especially the finishing thing. I mean, this is the most obviously frustrating thing from a fan's point of view, is that when you see him get the ball in the inside left channel and Patrick Dorgu's made a 50-yard run on the outside of him, you know that this cunt is going to cut inside and shoot, and it's probably going to be lame, right? Like you just, and like it's so bloody predictable, and that's a deeply frustrating thing about him. And the reason why I was very much against like selling him when all those stories were coming back is because I'm like, we know that he's got the composite parts of his game to be a really high ceiling player. Like it just so rarely puts them all together in a sequence within a game, let alone a sequence of games. And this is the frustration. He should be, as you say, better than this by now.
Yeah, and in general, it's a problem. It's not just his fault, but they had Nunes at fullback, and we saw that he realised and was able to get him in a way that Garnacho couldn't, and it's obviously not helped by the fact that Højlund had, after showing, I thought, a few improvements in the runs he was making and in the off the ball stuff, and also coming short and a few better touch offs, was again just anonymous.
Yeah. Guardiola said in his post-match press conference that Nunes isn't intelligent enough to play in midfield, which I thought, you 50 million quid on a midfielder, and you're like, nah.
You said
don't
that.
like him. Fullback. Yep.
But hang on. But you signed him after watching him do what, Josep?
Yeah.
Play in midfield.
Yep. And then you're like, nah, not having him.
No, I can't play in midfield. Who bought this idiot?
It's great. He just loves 50 million pound fullbacks. That's the thing with Pep, or 100 million pound fullbacks in the case of Guardiola. Yeah, we do the tactics show on Monday, and I don't know what we're going to talk about in that one, because there weren't a lot of interesting kind of tactical things in this game.
Last week we did countries we haven't been to. Are we now?
Yeah, that's right.
Things we're not going to talk about.
I know.
Have you done your list? You said you were going to do your list.
You know what? I promised the list and I haven't done it. I lied. I should have done it. I will put it together. It's a lot. We'll go count them up.
When I was in bed, I did mine. I think I had about 35. So, and that actually made me. I actually thought, fucking hell, 67 or whatever it is a lot of countries.
Now we're talking about countries here, right? Not your body count.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I thought.
What did you make of Højlund? Before we get off him, he's got one goal in however many 25 games for United now, something like that. He did some more wrestling today. Thought, when when they played the ball in, he'd wrestle a bit and then lose it, and we'd lose. How long do we persist with it? Do we take a hit financially in the summer and go, yeah, we just got to cut our losses, take the cash, move on? Do we think it's redeemable?
I don't think you'd necessarily sell him, just because if you did, you'd still need another striker. Let's say we're going to sign a striker.
Yeah.
Who knows who it's going to be? Really. And who knows if the only one that you're sure that's worth having is Osimhen. If you can't get Osimhen, you're not getting Gyökeres, and by the sounds of things, and couldn't afford Gyökeres properly without Champions League. He probably wouldn't want to come to us because at his age he wants to be somewhere better. And so, apart from him, then when you're buying another Højlund, really, unless you buy a veteran like a Cavani kind of player, then you're buying another Højlund, right? But
yeah,
even if you got your best option, which is Osimhen, then if you still need other strikers, and then Højlund, maybe that would be good for him. We always say this. The thing with Højlund, he was young. Sometimes young strikers are good enough. He hadn't played a lot of football when we got him. 70 million now does seem.
It seems ridiculous. Yeah.
What were Paris prepared to pay for him? Were they paying that?
Apparently not, because we got him. So, yeah. They paid the money they need to pay to get the players they want. So they obviously had a different figure on him. Yeah. Absolutely. I think we'd feel very different if he was a 25, 30 million pounds player, Dorgu mould, got about a similar number of games and football at the time we bought him. And that if we had another striker to go alongside him, and he didn't have to play every bloody week. So, because he does. He didn't. Our other options are not strikers.
I think he'll be better when Xerxes. I hope Xerxes and him play in Lyon. We don't really have a choice. But maybe he'll play Mount in Lyon, not Garnacho, Xerxes, Højlund. But then you haven't got a lot of pace. But I think I'd probably do that if it meant I could get another attacking player in. Yeah, maybe that's what we would be in Lyon. I don't know, because I think Xerxes will play in that one. But I mean, I always, the thing with him is like, is he the first person to have too much pausa, basically? He just like, there was a moment at the end, I think he was involved, where they just like, fucking shoot! And they're just like, well.
Of course, Xerxes probably had our best chance with that flick, which wasn't a bad effort.
It wasn't a bad effort. He didn't quite get the right foot in the right place to kind of, because once he was there, it felt like it's a matter of judgment. If you see what I mean, like it was possible for him to score there, and if he'd have judged the path of the ball better with what he needed to do, he would have scored. Like a proper good striker, you'd expect to score that. I would say, because it comes at quite a nice pace. But when you just watch him play, kind of think that he's too busy thinking, wouldn't it be nice if this worked, rather than what's the best way to get the ball from here into the goal. And
he's not a striker. He's a modern day Peter Sheringham.
He's not no, because Sheringham was a killer. Like Sheringham, Sheringham wanted to fucking score goals. Like Sheringham was top scorer in the league for United, and I think for Forest. That's not going to happen for this lad. But I agree that we've said it before. He's a similar type of tennis. Sheringham's the person I would tell him to watch. If like, how do you be slow and still score loads of goals? Still get, I mean, obviously, playing against some of the defenders that Sheringham played against in a less athletic game, probably quite helpful. But even so, watch Teddy Sheringham, you'll be a better player, I promise.
All right. What else is there to say about this game?
One of my favourite moments was when Dalle does a step over and goes into touch, and he got that. There's this guy who I know, like and he's got, I don't know if it's a twitch or something, but he's got this habit of sticking his tongue out like this, just like that. And
nervous.
So when you watch him, and you're trying to time him and do it when he does it, and it's basically the same with Dalle with the step overs. It's like a twitch he's got, where if you watch it now, like he'll get the ball and he'll be doing a step over, and it's almost like he's doing it and he's thinking about it in his head, and somewhere else it's like, and then do it again. And he was particularly bad today, but watch the Dalle step over twitch. It's almost like a default thing he does when he gets the ball. And he did one today and took him into touch. So that was a particularly good one, but
he's no Phil Neville, is he?
I just don't. Yeah, like we need to sign 2 wing backs for that side, and they need to know how to score goals and how to make goals. And he does not, and is never going to. And
no, he's never going to.
He's sort of, you feel like he's useful because he can cover both sides. But in this formation, he's not useful really, because we can't score goals. And I keep saying it. And it keeps being true because we can't fucking score goals. And
well, we got 6 weeks until the transfer window really kicks into gear. Once the Champions League final's over, well, that's all we'll be thinking about.
Would this be better?
This is nearly an impossible job for United to solve this problem. Striker, midfielder, probably 2 midfielders, at least 1 wing back, maybe 2.
Yeah, that's 6.
Maybe you can get away without a central defender. Maybe if Luke Shaw can be an auxiliary, maybe.
And a goalkeeper.
And quite possibly a goalkeeper, but that would be
one. And 100% a goalkeeper. Another year of this pops. No, we might not get one.
Did you not like his flying save with 2 fists? At least he didn't palm it. At least someone's had a word. The goalkeeping coach, I forget his name now, new Spanish guy, he's like 67 and closer to the bench than Marcus Rashford, that guy. He's had a word, right, and said, stop fucking palming it out into attacking players' paths. So he did go 2 fists. And
he does come for that cross at early doors. He does come for that cross and get nowhere near it, though.
Yeah. Well, we'll have plenty of time to talk about transfers and stuff like that, but I think it's all really bloody obvious what United need to do. And
almost everything.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you, who are the players that the manager wants? Bruno, Dorgu, Yoro, and possibly no one else?
Maguire and Delict, he seems happy enough with. I mean, one of, not both.
And obviously, like Heaven and Obi, sign them as well. So let's say them. But pretty much everyone else he could lose if given the opportunity. Yeah, Masraoui is a nice squad player to have, keep in. But when you're putting together your first team, and partly actually it's sort of because his formation is also his fault in a sense that his formation makes it harder for Mainu. If you play on a 4-3-3, then you'd be definitely thinking that if you coach Mainu well, he should be someone you can go forwards with to be a really good team. But the way that he wants to play, it's harder for him. And it's also harder for Garnacho, who we criticised for not being better than he should be. But also, if he was staying in a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, he would be better than this.
It would look different. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I've said it before, but I still think we perceive, like, comfortable fit or not, like, there's so few players, especially in the Premier League, who are very comfortable in those tight spaces, those small spaces, and that's a really big. I mean, you get a massive fee for Mainu because of that, because a whole lot of teams would look at how good he is in those spaces and how it allows you an auxiliary player in midfield, basically, because of that. And I think you've got to find a way to get him in the team.
I agree.
But
I mean, one way is there's no tournament this summer. Go to the gym and become the best athlete you can without compromising your agility. I don't know. There must be people that know about that shit, but I was him.
Yes,
that's
whoever Romelu Lukaku's fitness trainer was, not that guy.
not him. Yeah,
not him. Because Romelu put on like 15 kilograms of pure muscle, and then he couldn't fucking run for shit after that. But yeah, all right, let's move on because we've done half an hour on this game and it wasn't worth it, honestly. We've got Lyon on Thursday. They have 8 wins out of their last 10, 4 in the last 5. They are up to 5th in League 1. They have done a run of form just in time to play United. They have got the mighty Andre Lacazette up front. Rencheki is a legit good player, I think.
Alexandre.
Yeah.
Do you remember
Jordan Veretout as well, who you may have seen from France fame of years gone
briefly
by.
At Villa.
Briefly at Villa, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it shouldn't be a good side. It shouldn't be. And I'm not going to claim to watch them every week or anything like that. I don't think they're a particularly good side, but they are hitting some form at the right time.
I mean, Cherki is meant to have the potential to be really special. I can't say I've seen enough of him to have any kind of sensitive opinion.
Bunch of YouTube comps, but what was I going to tell you? But yeah.
I guess he's someone that United might look at as well. Like when you think about who the 10s are around that they think they could get, who might be good.
Yeah, well, not a 50 million, which was John Textor's price, but yeah, if they do get relegated by the French Football Federation, which still appears to be on the cards, then yeah, some of them might be cheap.
Thinking about it, I mean, I said earlier that I would hope that it would be Xerxes, Garnacho, and Bruno in that game, but when I thinking now actually about what Amorim said about it being physical, that probably makes it more likely that it'll be Casemiro, and away from home, probably Casemiro and Ugarte, and not fucking Mason Mount. But we'll see. We should be the best team in this competition. And I'm not criticising this formation when I say this, but I think if we were playing 4-3-3, we probably would be.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, of course.
Or are you thinking what the fuck are you talking about? But yeah.
No, we had the players for it, right? So it'd be much more comfortable. But clearly he's, and everyone at the club, leadership and stuff, have gone, okay, yeah, we'll accept this few months of development. And look, there were signs of it today. There were some nice accidents, weren't there?
So are we saying
like that?
So are we saying our inability to really create chances? And I guess we should also say that in the last 2 home games, we've played games we've been better than City in, I think. I think we were better than City, and I think we were better than Arsenal. Those are 2 of the better teams in the league. They're both going to qualify for the Champions League, probably. So our inability to create is partly that's who we were playing. And then last week we played Forest, who in midweek, and that is like also a very particular. We played quite well in that game, but we gave them a
24
goal.
shots.
We gave them a goal in the first few minutes, and they then allowed them to play the exact game that they wanted to play, that they've spent the season getting nailed down. So when we judge our inability to score in this, I think it's probably fair to sort of look at those 3 games as a package that is distinct from the inability to even get anywhere near threatening in all the games before Sociedad, because we have seen a significant improvement since then. And we looked dangerous against Sociedad. Played really well in that game. Obviously, they were shit, so still. But then it was a routine win. Then we had another routine win against, the shit teams, forget who. Leicester. And so we'll have to see when we get to play some more shit teams. I mean, unfortunately, Lyon won't make it easy for us like that either. But when we judge how well this formation is working, we do need to look at it in that context and then say, well, if we'd have had 3 players in the front positions who were very significantly better than the ones that we had today, do I think we would have won? And I think the answer is we would have won. So then, be like,
there are signs.
Okay, if you'd have had, say, Ahmad, and then a proper centre forward, they've still got to find one, and a proper right wing back, we would have won that game, right? So a lot of it, we could say, it's not about the formation, it's about actually the players are just shit.
There's a lot in that. And I agree about 70%. Like, that is true, that we are seeing signs of what he wants, and the types of patterns and movements and overloads that we saw at Sporting that he developed with what on paper should be worse players than are at United. That's not necessarily true. Like, that we're starting to see it. And we should do after 5 months, right? And he did say the defensive side will be easier than the attacking side. And now we're starting to see bits of it. And there were moments in that game. I'm not saying I'm not going to chubber over it, not over-indexing on this, not saying that, we're definitely going to win the league next year or anything like that. But there were just little signs. And you've got to cling to something, right? Because despite not losing at home to City, we dropped back in the league today. We are 14th, Daniel.
I think you've just got to try and tell the truth. Sometimes it feels when you're watching television, there's a bit of performative, not truth-telling going on. Like, they sort of suggested he didn't know what he was talking about a little bit, Almiron, when he said he thought they were getting better. And Gary Neville was actually, did sort of say that he's always honest, but he knows that it needs to be a fucking lot better than this. And the question isn't whether it's whether he's able to deliver it and whether it can also be delivered to him, I think. And the reason why it doesn't work, I don't think, it's not going to be the system. It's going to be they don't give him the money that he needs to buy the players that he needs, or he and they get the players wrong. Those are more.
It's more like the latter.
Much more likely that than he can't coach a team to play this way, I would say.
Yeah. All right. Let's think about Thursday then. How do we approach it? Is he? I do tend to agree that he's more likely, injuries and fitness permitting and stuff like that, to go with Casemiro and Ugarte in the central midfield and Bruno further forward, unless he really doesn't rate Lyon. But as I said, I think they're in a good moment at the moment, so I suspect it's going to be like that. Right?
A good moment.
He does tend to like Xerxes in these games where he's... I was kind of a little bit surprised today. Maybe he was betting on City's high line, there being some space behind, not that Højlund ever found it. But I would tend to think he may go with Xerxes up front than Højlund in this game. He'll like the fact that away from home he brings players into play. Apart from that, there's not many options. Is De Ligt fit? Probably not. Is Maguire fit? Because he came after an hour.
He looked quite upset when he came off. I felt Maguire in his face.
It looked
like he might be hurt. But I don't think that you can really play Xerxes as a centre forward.
I mean, he's not a centre forward. But
because if he's your number 9, then how are you possibly going to score? that.
Well, he brings the theory is he brings other players into play, and they.
But you're right. But then if Bruno's your 10, then you just one of the 10s. You just don't have any pace. I mean, you'd be relying on the wing backs, I guess. But how could we possibly justify doing that? I think it feels like Casemiro, Garte, Bruno, and I would go Bruno and probably Xerxes and Højlund, and then maybe
got to have some pace somewhere. Yeah,
but you do have to have some pace somewhere. But because you do have to be, we want to be able to. And Garnacho, like he can give ball carrying, but it's pointless if you don't get anything at the end of it, and you don't.
I would worry if it's all not.
Xerxes, you're more likely to get him in on.
Yeah. If it's, you got to have some pace in there, because otherwise it's a bunch of like tippy tappy footballers who are neat with the ball, like Mount and Xerxes and Bruno and so on, without being able to play with space at all. So, not like we create an awful lot of chances anyway. So why limit your ability and your methodology for creating some kind of chances? Other than that, it's down to set pieces, right?
I mean, on the other hand, they are going to have to win this game, so they're probably going to offer us a bit of space, and it won't like the Forest game. I mean, it should be a decent test. We're saying, I mean, it's obviously a much harder game than Leicester, the kind of games that feel like we're now playing well enough, so we should start winning some of the easier games more easily. But I mean, it'll be a good test of where we are. Over 2 legs, there should be enough quality in this team to do it, because I think they will give us a bit more space to play in, but we don't know how to score goals, so it's always difficult.
Joy. Well, it's a massive game at the Groupama Stadium. What did it used to be called? This is sponsored, right?
There was the Gerland.
The Gerland, yeah.
I went. I was there for the one in 08, the Tevez game, where we actually celebrated the winner with Louis Saha's sister and parents were stood next to us.
Very nice.
So it was the girl, and actually, I mean, one of the guys we were with, one of my, he didn't have a ticket, came with, and as we were walking, they paid for some car, and he just was able to wander in and jibbed in the age of, I think he was probably about 65 at that point, which
nice. Lifetime jibbing.
Like roughly, because I remember thinking roughly my dad's age, and the idea that my dad would go to Lyon and jib, he's a long way from reality.
Beautiful city, though. City of monuments. It's a very nice place to hang out for a couple of days for the Reds that are going. Big game.
And good food.
As I've said. And the food. Good food. Lots of monuments.
I feel like I probably going to get aggravation for this. I feel like French cooking is actually quite bland and overrated.
Wow.
I know.
What's great cuisines? I never choose it, to be fair. Maybe I agree. I don't know. All right. Massive game. Literally £100 million on the line. I know we're going to say this for the next 5 games now, aren't we? Until we all somehow try to get over to Bilbao for the final.
Yeah, it is kind of about, I mean, because it shouldn't be like this. It really, really shouldn't be like this. But it does feel like, well, how good we can get, how quickly. If we could win this competition, would make a very fucking big difference.
It accelerates it by a year. So our part.
No, because
I mean, there's a lot of things.
It's not because it accelerates it by more than, if you do it well, then you could. If you get proper money to spend in the summer, you could be good in fucking 3 months' time. Whereas if you don't, and you don't get it next time either, then you're back in that condition you've been in before, where you're always chasing. You always don't have exact what you need, and you always have to compromise on the players that you want. And because if you don't get it this summer, then it's going to take time for it to work subsequent to that. It's just also this summer, no tournament, you're getting fresh players, you're taking everyone on tour. It's an opportunity to get something going.
Absolutely. Fully agree. Yeah. I mean, if you look at the quality of the Premier League this season, I know it's a kind of internet cliche to go, it's the worst ever, blah, 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 blah. But you've got a lot of kind of mediocre sides, including the title winners, Liverpool. This is not a good Premier League winning side. City in trouble. We don't know what'll happen with their Premier League case, whether they'll be in the league or not next season. Chelsea clearly breached PSR without selling a hotel to themselves. That has not been ratified by the Premier League. They could well be looking at points deductions, fines, restrictions, and so on. Forest will never be this good again. They just won't be enough. No, you just cannot trust them to go do the thing they actually need to do, which is go buy an elite striker, right? So there's an opportunity, 100%. But it really does hinge on getting the prestige and the money of being in this tournament, the Champions League days.
You look at it's very hard to know when you say who do you think is going to win the league next season, or what's the top four even going to be? For the first time in a long time, the answer is I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's because the quality of the Premier League's been compressed, right? So if you have the bottom team in the league, will earn more than the third place team in Spain, right? Basically, right? From the TV contract. And so they can go buy players. So the difference between your 100%. Standard average Premier League, mid-ranked Premier League side, and the mid-ranked Premier League side 20 years ago is completely night and day. And so it means that it's ultra competitive. Now, still, the top 5 or 6 who've got the biggest multiples on the revenue, they're the only ones that can go off and buy. And United would have counted in this if we hadn't blown all our money. I will count in this again very shortly, but they're the only ones who buy the elite players that can make the really big difference. But for the mid-ranked teams...
but there are more brilliant players in the world than there have ever been before as well. So it's not just about having the money, it's about you can go and do damage with that money, and it's really obvious who you can get who's good. So you have look at some players like West Ham in the league. They've got some really good players, and it's also to do with just stores of players as well as money. And obviously, the main thing that brings them to England is the money. But it's also at a point when there are loads of fucking good players to have. So,
yeah. All right, let's leave it there. Let's hope some of our fucking good players or our fucking good player does something good on Thursday night. Bloody need it. Thanks, Daniel. Everyone, you can catch us on YouTube if you're on the audio, or if you're on YouTube, you can catch the audio. Patreon.com/NQAT pod if you want to get the Backers show, or on Apple Podcast subscriptions. Really do appreciate it. And thanks to you, Daniel. It is 1:45 a.m. Get some sleep.